Welcome back to another high vibe conversation. I'm your host, 𝗟𝘆𝗱𝗂. I'm really excited for today. I'm on West Coast time for the first time for one of these, and I'm navigating the change. Today we have an amazing guest with us, Lydia Beligan-Wilson. Lydia, thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited to hop into this conversation about leading change. Why don't you introduce yourself so that everybody can get a chance to know you as well?
Thank you, Shell. I am based in the UK, and yes, it's that tiny island that it rains most of the year and it's cold, and we celebrate our 2 weeks of summer. So we are enjoying those 2 weeks of summer now, plus or minus. And in my day-to-day job, I am an engineering manager. I lead a team of people, and I work for an energy company. So no, thank you very much, Shell, for having me. And I'm sure I'll gain so much wisdom just sitting and listening to each and every one of you.
Well, actually, we are thrilled to have you with us. And something that I like to do whenever possible is celebrate and have like a celebration moment. And so today I want to celebrate you too because it's International Women in Engineering Day. So I just want to like have a moment to honor you. And if I can pull it up real quick, if I can find it, I want to drop some confetti. Of course, I can't find it at this particular moment, but I usually do. There you go. I want to celebrate International Women in Engineering Day, all for you. So, yay, we have a celebration moment. To kick it off, and we're talking about leading change. This also refers to like the success habits that you build for yourself in your life and your business. Why don't we just start there, Lydia? What are some ways that you stay successful in your personal and professional life? Like, what have you come to know works for you?
Oh, a big question. Thanks, Shell. I think the first thing we as human beings need to do is define what success means for us, because it means different things for different people. And if you don't define what success means for you, there's a temptation that you will drive success through another person's definition. And you will burn out. You might not reach the set goal that that individual has set. And you're just feeling like a hamster on a wheel. So I define success as putting my joy first and enjoying what I do, enjoying my environment, and living in the moment while I plan for the future. That is my definition of success. In my career is leaving a legacy wherever I work or whatever I do, that if I had to go back to my last job or my last role, people will welcome me with open arms. If I had to leave and everyone's like, oh, thank goodness she's out of the building or she's no longer there, I think that's a failure, because that meant I haven't left a positive impact on others. So leaving a positive impact, thinking about others, driving change, I know that's part of what we're talking about today, is a strong passion of mine. And I don't like to color within the box. I like to get rid of the box and color outside the lines if it means it's going to achieve a positive goal.
Ooh, uh, coloring outside of the lines is certainly my specialty as a creative, but also being able to find my way of doing things. That means like that I have to break the mold and break the box and kind of like shatter the things that people have told me that I need to be doing, because when you're more open minded and aware of your own success path, you don't always have to do it the way that's already been defined, right? You can redefine what that means for you. So I love that you're talking about breaking that mold and in order to lead the change. And so many different ways that we could dive in on this personally and professionally, because you touched on so many different ones. I know Jenny can certainly speak to being present in the moment. Jenny, is that something that you feel good to talk about?
Absolutely. And what more is coming up for me is when you say joy, I think of the core value of joy or fun, Linda, and that knowing ourselves truly is knowing ourselves at our core and what we value the most, so that I can be present with my values and use them as a compass to recognize when I am living in alignment with who I truly am. And I remember when I started, like, my brain started, to get wired that way. I realized that it was never about the external things for me. It was never about the, measuring myself with, what kind of title or what kind of car or what kind of house. It was the authenticity of living a life in flow that was in alignment with myself and me at my core, and enjoying that journey. And I have more takes on that, because talk about the journey. Like, it's all about the discovery, and life is change. It's all about opening up to the lessons in the change, and living from a life of acceptance. And I don't know, take it from there, anyone. Or something else.
Yeah, well, when I think of what you're talking about, Jenny, is like, I think of, like, you say compass and I say filter. It's the core values are a way to filter our even decisions through. For me, my core values, my top three, are fun, freedom, love. And at one point I was, thinking, well, we're into this coaching world, and that's how we're going to make a living. So I'll just switch it, like freedom can be my, top goal, or my top core value. And I'll just, because like freedom and money, they go together. What a disaster. So yeah, I totally went back to the original: fun, freedom, love. It's not fun, I'm not doing it. If there's no freedom in it, I'm not doing it. And if I'm not connected with people who I love and who love me, forget about it. So that's how I see core values.
I can certainly speak to the love and the freedom of doing things my own way and loving myself in that process, which is something that I lost for a really long time, possibly never even had that love for myself to begin with. So it's been a process of leading change by first loving myself and learning how all the different ways that I can do that. Because I can't lead effectively if I don't know what any of those things are for myself. And previously, where I thought I was being a leader, I was also in such a negative place. I wasn't having any fun. I wasn't like doing things my own way. And it prevented me from being able to create the change that I wanted, because everything just was not about me, for lack of a better, like, I wasn't being selfish in any regard. It was all very selfless about everybody else all the time. And while that sounds like it can create change because you're putting everyone else before yourself, it's a disservice to not only you but to everyone else, because you really need to know who you are first. And so that, for me, that it's been a process of learning to love myself, and now what can I do with that, and leading from a place that feels more fulfilled. So I love how this is all coming together. We're all like adding little juicy tidbits to the conversation about leading change.
Can I add that when we know ourselves,
is that even a question? Can you add? Yes, you get to.
So when we know ourselves, we are able to live a life in integrity, which builds our confidence. And change is freaking scary many times. It's scary to enter the growth zone, or whatever we choose to call it. So to work from that base, like that anchor of, I know my why, like you say, Lydia, So Lydia, I want to hear more from you about change and what's your relationship been with change on your journey?
Wow. Change, there's the personal change journey where you're on self, the self change. And you've all talked about at that point in time when we didn't love ourselves enough or we didn't even love ourselves at all. And some of us have had to rediscover ourselves along our life journey and life experiences. So that's a change. And I start with that for a reason, because if you don't get the self love and change and self awareness right, the change you want to lead is at jeopardy. Just like what Shell said earlier on about you're being there for others, you're putting everybody else before yourself, and you're just broken within, and you lose who you are in that process. I Because of my background and everything I do, I work in a male dominated environment. I'm an ethnic minority. I'm a female. You can take, I mean, I always laugh when we're doing the diversity and inclusion. I tick so many boxes that I wonder the ones I don't tick. And I'm not your typical everyday woman. I will speak up even if nobody else wants to. And that's why the self change is important, rediscovering yourself, being comfortable with who you are, because when that is out of the way, then you begin to see the things and the change and the impact you want to make, and you go for it. The imposter syndrome disappears. The validation from others is no longer important because you've already validated yourself, and you now see an opportunity. I mean, I've gone through corporate change, and again, typical, no blueprint, nothing. There was no spill. We're just going through a corporate change. Go figure it out. And I had broken team members, people who couldn't deal with that change. Now, if I hadn't luckily worked on my own journey through change or my self change in the past, I wouldn't be able to support those people. And when you're dealing with change, you need to, like, I know Linda said filter. I love you, Linda. You said filter and compass. I think they both go hand in hand. The compass is your navigation. Where's the northern star that you're trying to lead the team, and can everybody see that north star that you're trying to lead through change? But as you face that north star, what do you filter out? I get some things from top that I know if I give it to the people trying to follow me, it would just cause chaos. And the filter comes into play, and that's very important. But I'm able to do all that because I'm balanced and I'm comfortable in myself. Do I have the days when I forget to be balanced and be myself? Absolutely. But what I remind myself is don't stay down. You've got to pick yourself up because of your why. Why was I doing this in the first place? I know, Jenny, you touched about that, and that's something I've written about in on LinkedIn in one of my articles. But that's where the why, the northern star, the filter, the compass, they're all nuggets that helps us to get the change we're trying to lead others through right. And again, don't try to box it into a time frame or a time zone or a KPI metrics. I know Ambassador Terry in one of his talked about how we forget to put people in the front and we talk about all the other elements of business. But people are the heart of what we do, and if we put them first, it will be it will drive the change that we want with support and allyship from everybody that is around it.
What's coming up for me right now when you talk about support and allyship, um, reminds me of feeling like I didn't always have that, and the lack of support. Even if I had very loving, supportive, in theory, family and friends all around me, I still had that feeling for a really long time that I wasn't supported. And so I totally can understand what it's like to not have those things. And now the feeling of having it surrounded by you amazing women, and then some, Terry, Aisha, who joins us every single week, without fail. Like, there's so many people that we've connected through, even on LinkedIn, especially on LinkedIn, across the globe, that make us feel whole and champion us to keep going and doing more of the things that feel good, and don't make us feel like we need that validation. If we get additional validation and support, all the better, but we don't go looking for it because we already feel complete. So I love being able to touch on it from both sides. So thank you for talking about that. The other thing that's coming up, for me, and I think Stina can speak to this a little bit more, is I forget the word that you used, Lydia, exactly, but what was coming up for me was ruminating on like not making the change and staying the same and staying like, again, I've lost the word that you specifically used, but Stina, what happens, and maybe this isn't where you want to go, but I'm going to throw it out there. What happens when you're ruminating on something and like, or you don't know how to show up effectively for those around you? Like, because I know that this sometimes is something that like we can struggle with when we're like parenting kids or parenting other adults or parenting ourselves. So how do you show up as a leader to effectively lead them when you're stuck in something that's maybe not the best for your day? That seems like a very, very loaded question. So if that's not where you want to go and you want to pivot, the floor is all yours.
Well, I'm going to bring it back to what Lydia first said about defining your success, because what she mentioned was that joy is success to her. And today I had a moment where I really wanted to get outside and move for exercise. So I was like, I'm going to walk, I'm going to run, I'm going to, go have my workout time. And I just thought, I'll like walk halfway and then like run back. It was just kind of a casual plan. And so like I walked what felt like far enough, and then I was like ready to run. And I had this little debate start in my head of like, did I walk far enough? How far am I going to run back? Like, I've ran a mile before, so this isn't going to be a mile. And like, I paused and I was like, nobody else is here. Nobody cares how far you're running. Like this is just my own experience. And I thought, what if I just did it for the joy of running, which is why I did it in the first place. And I feel like joy is such a subjective experience. Like if somebody is joyful, you know it, but like they have to be feeling it. Joy is really, really difficult to fake or like pretend. And success is like very easy to do, and it's very sort of measurable, and like we have a lot of assumptions about success. It means that you have a lot of money, it means that you have a great job, it means that it might mean things about your car, your house, or your family, and we have this idea of what it is. And so then breaking it down for yourself and defining it means that you actually have like an internal motivator to say, this is what I want to experience. This is how I want to experience my life, my day. And without that, the times that you feel really low are that much more difficult, because it feels like you'll never get out of it. It feels like things are in a downturn. It feels like you feel the pressure and the tension that much more. Where when you have, to reiterate what Jenny has said, Linda has said, Lydia said, like that, the North Star, the compass, the guiding values, the things that are a priority for you, something that matters, not that matters to other people, that matters to you personally, then like, it's okay if you have an off day. It's okay if a conversation doesn't go well. It's okay if somebody's unhappy with you or misunderstands you, because you're moving in a direction. You're making progress, and it's okay if progress is slow on some days or non-existent on some days. It's just knowing that you can trust yourself to keep putting one foot in front of the other and taking one step at a time and just continuing on that journey and making that progress. That's the most encouraging thing to me, is to look at what I'm doing, who I am, how I feel, and just acknowledge any progress and just remind myself, you are making progress. You are moving in the right direction. Look at where you were 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, like just to have that moment of appreciation for all of the work that you have done, and remember that you're still doing it. You're still growing. You're still finding out new things about yourself and about how to lead and how to handle change. And there's never a point where any human has like completely mastered it all, has no bad days, no bad moments, and it's all just perfect. And success means that you are just completely untouchable in those ways. So it's letting yourself be a human in the process of leading and in the process of change.
And I love that you reminded yourself why you were doing the running in the first place, that why you went out, like you got back in touch with what you needed. And that effectively like recentered you and made you whole in that moment of like where you started to second guess what you were there for. So yeah. Dorrit, what's coming up for you when we're talking about leading change?
Well, I'm listening to all these lovely ladies, and they pretty much cover all the bases. What comes up for me is a little thing called intuition. It's like a muscle. It can get stronger the more you use it. And I know I've met a lot of women through my practice that is kind of ignoring it and is like, no, that's just not, no, I'm not listening to that. I'm going to listen to that person, or I'm going to listen to Google, or I'm going to listen to something else I read in a book, or yeah. And I just want to put it out there that following your intuition, or like I said, follow your heart, is super, super good, because it won't steer you wrong. If you feel that something is kind of rubbing the wrong way or a red flag, then don't do it. I mean, you have all the answers inside of you, and no matter what is your measurement for success or where you want to go in your career, let that guide you. That's just what I want to say, because for many years I didn't listen, and that led to a crash. It hurt my family. It hurt myself. Yeah. So by listening to my heart and doing the things that feels right for me, and being able to trust that and say, no, I'm not going to go there, even though perhaps it's a lot of money, or perhaps it's a step on the ladder, but it doesn't feel right. There has to be another way. That's not success. When you do it, compromising your own integrity, so to speak, your own intuition. That's, yeah.
And that is one of the best compasses and filters, right? Is following what feels right for you. Lydia, when you're leading change in your professional life and leading others, how often do you come across people who aren't following their intuition, and how do you redirect them, or what do you do to help them get back in touch with themselves?
That's a great question, Shell. And one thing that I love that Stina and Dorit have both said, which I think answers the question you just gave me here, is celebrating those wins. Now, we as human beings continue to focus on our imperfections and we forget to celebrate what we've accomplished, what we've done, and just celebrate them. And Dorit said that intuition. So, as a leader, you cannot switch off your intuition because sometimes you need to understand why is that person off course? Why are they not following the change you're trying to lead? And that will help you define the strategy you use to address the situation. I know that for some people, they lack confidence, and it's knowing your people. So I take my time whenever I join a team. I take my time to know my team, and I lead them all individually differently. And as a team, I find a common ground that works for everybody. And if you talk to everybody who I've led in my career, they will all probably give you different versions of the leader that they've seen. But one thing that's common that I hope they will all say is that I'm a leader that cares. And that is really important. So when you find people who are struggling with change, you need to understand why are they struggling with change. Some of it is within their control, and some of it is out with their control. For the ones that it's within their control, I remind them of what they're good at, like Stina mentioned. Celebrate, oh, you were great at this. This is just another opportunity for you to be great. And you motivate them and you encourage them. Give them the seat at the table, give them the visibility that they need. And then there's some who just hate change. And I have people like that in my team. If at the moment you bring something else that is going to disrupt their planned to do list, they come up with why it's not possible. So I I have to pay attention, and that's where the intuition thing comes in. And so with those people, I need to make them own the change. They need to own the change agenda. I need to find a way to make them see what is in it for them and make sure that they feel invested in that change and not be change is not being forced on them. So as a leader, you can't switch off your intuition. You have to know your people, celebrate the wins, give them a seat and visibility where it matters. And for the disruptors, and the disruptors make us better as leaders, you have to find how they feel they're part of the change, they're owning it. I've had people who I'll go, have you thought about doing this? And that's great, the idea you gave. What about if you go this way? And the next moment or the next meeting I go to, they're talking about that idea as if it was always their own. And that's okay because my why was to make sure that they get on board with the change. It's not about it was my idea and they've stolen it. That's so microscopic in nature. And you cannot lose the big vision as a leader. So, as part of that big vision view, the strategic view is how do you get everyone on board? And you need to tailor your leadership style differently with each and every one of them.
Yeah, you tailor it so that in a way that you can relate and connect with them and get up, be up, and put them on the same level as you, or you on the same level as them. You meet them where, as Jenny always talks about, meeting them where they're at, right?
Yes.
I was just getting to that.
Hop right in. Go for it.
Because what I was coming up for me is like clarity and vision. Like first we meet people where they are, we keep our feet on the ground, and we listen to their fears, like you were sharing, Lydia. And I love that because change is about the new, and there is no room for the new if we have not yet let go of the old. So it's about letting go. And we tend to be so focused on the things that are keeping, keeping us in this sense of safety that we're not recognizing that in letting go, we're truly creating space for what we are choosing, for our yes. So I just loved everything that you just shared. And then with our feet firmly on the ground, we do get to keep our heads above the clouds in vision and seeing further and inspiring that trust that good things are coming. They might not be here yet. And just thinking of the pandemic and everything that we have gone through, it's been a lot of vision to carry for the leaders. And yeah, it's just been a really interesting time to grow through. I think many will agree with us on that. Thank you.
Wow. We have covered leading change from so many different angles. And I want to thank you all for being here, because you've each like shared a different perspective on leadership and change and growth and what success feels like, for each of us as individuals, because it is different, for everyone, and it looks different and it feels different, and it changes the way that we show up and interact with those around us too. So thank you all for joining me today. To everyone that has tuned in, or if you're watching the replay, thank you for being here. We love and support you, and we will make sure to answer any of the comments that you leave for us. Let us know how you are successfully navigating change and leading others in your life, personally or professionally. All the things. Let us know where you're tuning in from in the world, as well, because we love to connect with more and more people. And make sure to join us again next week for another high vibe conversation. I'm 𝗟𝘆𝗱𝗶 I am your host for today. I am the owner of 𝗟𝘆station, career success coach, and I am so thrilled to be able to host these conversations on a weekly basis so that we can bring more conversations for change to everyone. So with that said, I feel pretty complete. Do you ladies have anything else you'd like to add before we say our goodbyes for the day? And if not, then this is another high vibe conversation, and we are saying goodbye for now.